Oh, muted again. Welcome everyone to the 112th episode of the LIBERcast, and I want to thank everyone for being there and sharing this stuff. Thank you so much for supporting the people who are doing the great work, and this is what we're gonna cover tonight, actually, and what it is to unite this movement, this incredible aggregate of people who wants to make a change, a real change in their world and in themselves, as humans, as brothers and sisters, and try to walk hand in hand and working on the same page to build this up. Because if you have clusters here and there, it's not gonna make so much change. You need to put all these clusters together and create a solid, rock solid foundation for what we consider being the right thing to do as humans, as people, as a civilization. This is our responsibility to do something about it, and to do something about it, it's to know things about it. There's no other way to get through this. So before we start and introduce Derek and Leslie, this is the One Great Work Network. As usual, I'm doing the plug there. It's an awesome page filled with incredible people, with incredible information, thousands of hours of incredible stuff with connections, and this is where it starts. I'm not mentioning all the works from Mark Passios or Michael Tessarians or all these magi's that we have the honor and privilege to have in our era. So there's like, I think there's up to 75, I think 70 or something creators, content creators. Go look there. There's French stuff, English stuff, Italian stuff, and it's gonna get bigger with the time. So go give them a look and explore this incredible world that is the occult and morality and natural law. Here we go. So I'm going to introduce our two guests. Welcome to the LIBERcast, to both of you, and I'm honored to have you here tonight.
Thank you so much, Fred. It's really an honor to be here. Really glad to join forces.
Yeah.
This work is so important. I think I'm gonna do it until I die. Actually, this is how important it is, and I'm not doing it for myself, and I'm not doing it for the adult that are actually here. I'm doing it for the children, for the generation, because the generation we have now, they are beyond broken.
Mm-hmm.
So before we starting this conversation, I want you guys to introduce yourself and talk about what you're doing and where we can get your work.
You go, Derek.
Ladies first, yo, but yeah.
Well, I can. I'm Leslie Powers, and I'm really here to represent the work that I'm doing with Derek, which we call Dissolving the Divide, which I think is an awesome podcast that we've been doing now for over a year and Derek probably knows the exact number of podcasts so far. Is that 50? Wow, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, and they're fun conversations with a variety of people talking about really deep subjects related to overcoming the divisions that are existing in the world today, and how to really get to the root causes and how to heal those divisions to help enhance all of our lives and our freedom. And so I have some work I've done on my own as well, Alive and Thriving. I have a website called alivethrive.life. And you can find me on YouTube and Odyssey and the One Great Work Network. So it has a real comprehensive amount of my interviews and podcasts and presentations. So I'm doing the work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And honestly, the work just with Dissolving the Divide has been extremely fruitful for me. Producing video week in, week out, pretty much. We had a hiatus last summer, but like honing in on video creating skills and this and that. And yeah, thanks for mentioning my Linktree. Folks might know my works from, I got my DJ moniker, Awaken Your Mind. One word, Awaken YA Mind. And been mixing conscious hip hop, truth infused with, I like to sample, like you mentioned, the Tessarions, Mark Passio, other cats up in network like Seth Boza, Mario West, who's, graced your stage on LIBERcast quite a few times in the past. Yeah, much love to her. One of my best friends. And just going through the whole awakening process and learning about stuff and documenting it through musical tapestries has been kind of my forte since 2012. And yeah, knowing, in the back of my mind, like the whole time, like, yo, I got to put my stuff out sometime, and gathering up the grammar and stuff, and just going through life. But finally able to like team up with someone like Leslie, and aside from doing my own little stuff, but the whole issue with Dissolving the Divide, the catalyst for that is just, countering all the, divide and conquer tactics and dialectics that we're bombarded by since fucking birth, So, yeah. And speaking of birth, congratulations, brother man.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Is it a boy or a girl? I don't even know, Fred.
It's a boy, actually.
Cool. A young
So
warrior in the mix.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
From creation to another creation.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Had big day for you, Fred.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just add a little about my background for context. Is I'm a clinical social worker, and I've been in the field for over 30 years, and I've have at least a third of that work more now doing psychotherapy. So I have a pretty deep interest and understanding of the human psyche and making change, helping people to overcome trauma and so forth. So I bring a lot of that to the great work that I'm participating in.
I mean, I covered that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Because this is the root of evil,
Yeah.
And fear as such is a powerful weapon.
Yeah.
Because it's have insinuated itself in every aspect of our life. It doesn't mean that we have to be victims. It doesn't mean that we have to endure that. We could change that. We can still change it, but do we really want to change it as an aggregate, as a people, as a civilization?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Do people even see how traumatized and wounded they actually are, and how wounded our system is? I think that's even the very first step, is helping people step out of the denial of their, their frozen state, right? Their traumatized state, where they're participating from that place of fear and really complicit with the enslavement that we're all experiencing.
Oh yeah. So I have questions for you both. What is dissolving the divide? What does it mean?
Well, to not have too much yang up in that thing in regards to, like I mentioned, and I wanted to, originally, before like really meeting with Leslie about this, I had my own thoughts about doing even just like a presentation or something like that, of like conquering the divide instead of divide and conquer. But like, that can sound a little too whatever, but you know, it is a catchy phrase. But at the same time, like, if we're really going to take this stepwise approach to actually, you know, make real change happen through the hearts and minds of men and women and children out there, like, how can we really open up the floor and have a wider audience? Because, you know, over the years, you know this, Fred and Leslie, everyone listening probably, that, you know, we're kind of encapsulated by fucking echo chambers, and they're getting enforced by algorithms, especially these days with the AI implementations and all this stuff. So and it's like, Leslie and I, we're not necessarily trying to take the soft approach, but at the same time, just like, hey, like, we got to talk about all these things, because people are polarized, you know, this way and that way, and heartstrings are pulling or getting pulled by, you know, puppet string that are being pulled by, you know, puppets and all. You know, it's just like such a micro to the macrocosm to things, you know, to consider on so many different levels. Leslie, anything to add to that? Or
Yeah. I remember when we were throwing around the idea of conquering the divide, and we're like, well, you know, there's this pretty aggressive sort of, you know, spirit with that. We're going to take, you know, beat it down, you know, like a wall. And that instead, you know, I think we lean more towards this idea that we don't, you know, that kind of hard knock can basically create more divide, you know, and you go in ready to fight, you know, people are going to put up their defenses, and it may not really be the vibe we're really seeking. What we're seeking is this process of like recognizing at the heart of things, we are one, you know, that unity, we have more in common. We are all really, you know, equal. We're humans, you know, and that these divisions are very artificial, you know. So it's not like we have to just like beat them down, but maybe we can shed light and share knowledge and help shift mindsets in such a way that those divisions dissolve, and, you know, people start to unite in the commonality of our goals to be happy as humans, you know.
under natural law, what?
Uh-huh. That's a lot. Yeah.
But yeah, Fred, I mean, like, I don't know how it's been on your side, brother. But you know, a lot of folks in network, or you know, people that are treading on the trials and tribulations of, you know, real truth speaking and such, you know, where like the viewership is not really in our favor. But you see the landscape of YouTube, and there's people doing live streams. They'll get thousands of views in a live stream, and that'll be like more views than we can get for a video in that whole, like, you know, for like a decade. Sometimes it's crazy. So yeah, to like try to, and we're not trying to sell out in like water down or our message, or you know, compromise principles to kind of reach the more mainstream audience. You know, it's just to kind of like, how do we bust out of the echo chambers so we can be heard by other people? Because people need to hear this more than, you know, folks in network and people that are like-minded in a sense, even though it always helps and reinforces certain things, right? Having continuity and unity between, at least, you know, within echo chambers. And you know, there's enough infighting sometimes within echo chambers, unfortunately, but you know, but
that part of us uniting really to promote each other's work, you know, and doing more collaboration. Like, I'm very psyched about that. I love it. It inspires me too. And I think we all need to keep inspired to, you know, to get up and do the work, because we're all at busy lives, you know, on top of this.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, Derek, I want to, I put an emphasis on introspection and shadow working when it comes to the interpersonal relationship you have with other people. And slowly we're transmuting all this conditioning, so it's not gonna be perfect. We're gonna make mistakes, and this stuff needs to be, I mean, if you don't do mistakes, how do you know that is a mistake? So
Right.
this is the condition of learning by the apophatic context.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have not only on the great work, but in other groups outside, and all the relation that they have together. If people are divided inside of them, they're not going to be able to unite with other people on principles and common sense.
Yeah.
This is where social media is destroying the mind of people. It's used for worthless, inane goals that leads nowhere. People are going right in the wall. They're running and they don't looking, and they're not looking forward. They're not looking in front of them, and they're gonna hit the wall hard. You
Or
know.
they're walking like this and they're,
Oh yeah, it's happening literally. People are getting hurt because of that. And I think this is a education issue. It's a maturity issue. If you have a, a a mass of people, and I'm generalizing here, that their IQ is one of 10 or 11 years old, or 9 or 8 years old, how much good you can do with that in a world of responsibilities and principles and things that are true and they have to be known. And if people don't know that, well, it's like driving you're in the passenger seat in a car, and the fucking driver is falling asleep.
yeah.
It's a dangerous place to be. Ignorance is a very dangerous and very terrifying demise for culture as
Yeah.
such, because I think culture is not a bad thing, but as fear, culture is used as a weapon.
Yeah.
We just got to watch out and not create the cult within the culture, I guess, right? Yeah.
Oh
Leslie,
yeah.
you were going to say?
Well, I'm just thinking about, the aspects of intelligence, where, and the impact of the school system. And, oh, am I okay? Thanks. Yeah, I was just thinking about the aspects of intelligence and how in our school systems and generally, in our culture, emotional intelligence isn't really taught. Self knowledge, self introspection, and psychology of self aren't really taught. And even in the knowledge that's taught, it's very much like telling kids what to think instead of teaching kids how to think. So it's those two things we have against us, right? And then the culture that is of distraction and addiction that is so big, right? And the media confusing people with wrong messages or mixed, half true, half false. And there's, like you said, Fred, so much fear. And I've been thinking a lot too about just the ancestral baggage that we carry and all of the violence that is in all of our histories and the experience of more like chattel slavery for everyone, like all of our lineages throughout time have been enslaving each other. And that is a heavy thought when I think about how normal in a way that has been. And as a people throughout the world, that people know more or less that that's absolutely wrong. But what's been missed is I think because of that extreme, people do not see the subtle aspects of slavery that they are held by. And because it's better than ever before in a way in terms of comfort, that is leaves people very frozen and unwilling sometimes to face the reality.
I mean the effort that we should, and I mean, it's it's a great work. This is not this is there's a reason why it's called a great work, because you're fighting against, it's David versus Goliath scenario in this case. But it's not a coincidence that David is throwing in a rock right at the place of the third eye in the forehead. This whole story that we were indoctrinated into, because this is a story. We don't know if it's true. We don't know if our culture is true. We don't know if we're always like dwelling between two things. You have the meta aspect of reality, and you have reality. And this is and I like it very much. Okay, it's not like we have to like fucking ramp on in the mud. We're getting bruised. I'm speaking metaphorically here. We have to do the hard work, to get through that. And what I talking of divide, why is it the people in the freedom movement or the occult movement or any movement ever, why does it seems why it's so difficult, at your opinion, why it's so difficult to get together? What is the boundary, the schism that prevent us from doing that?
I think, something that I've been trying to mention a couple times in I think I mentioned it a little bit in our chat with Caroline Riley, someone that you know quite well with her shadow work community.
Mm-hmm.
Respects to her and her work, her great work. And yeah, just all right. So there is like a traumatic experience when you get that aha moment, or the paradigm shift, or this whole awakening process or event, or whatever people want to label it as, right? Whatever happened, you took the red pill, and you look at the movie Neo. I mean, that's a traumatic experience, what he went through after he took the red pill. He was already like kidnapped 3 times before that, and then they ripped the bug out of his stomach from his solar plexus, getting rid of the fucking parasite, the parasitic. Think of that metaphorically, the vampiric energies that have been siphoning our life force energy through the media, through all the propaganda, through all these things that have divided us within ourselves, and took us even further away from source, and from proper camaraderie with people, and we're operating on fragmented consciousness, unfortunately. And so that is already in and of itself is one of the first gates that we need to bust through and really open properly to have proper relationships with people. And so when we're standing on these sacred grounds and talking about these sacred principles, that needs to be really kept in mind, going back to the first cosmic law principle especially. So Leslie, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think that most of us in this kind of freedom movement would consider ourselves maybe outliers or outcasts in different ways. Chris Jensen kind of thinks of us all as contrarians because we question everything. And, I think most of us have probably had some of this in us for our whole life, which can lead to our own kind of wounding, right? And so we all have our hangups, we have our issues, we have our wounds, our sensitivities. We're used to maybe not entirely trusting. And because we're so staunchly independent, right? And we've learned through, I could speak for myself, but I think there's probably some similarities among us all around, having been burned, and in different types of relationships, and And I think that's true universally for people. And what does that create? It creates some division. It creates some walls and fences, and wherever we're each at, you know, we're very careful that we don't want to lose ourselves, you know, or compromise. And so I think our very strengths that we bring in also can lead to us being a bit disconnected, you know. But I say, you know, we can still make that a strength. It's kind of like a community, instead of it being what do you call it, when everybody's living in the same land, where it's centralized and very vulnerable. We have an opportunity to create this decentralized community where we're operating in our own locations and working together in strategic ways that can add strength and maybe even some stealth. And I think if we're united in the direction of the mission of the one great work and the principles and the truth, kind of like what Mark Passio's really been talking about in like dyadic couple, you know, a genuine relationship is also is facing the direction of a principle and truth. I think that's also true for us, you know, in our philos. You know, we have a unity of agape, but we're also brothers and sisters, and we're united in kind of our independent ways with our own personality, our own creative style, and being really determined to hold on to that, because that's core to our message too. The message of individual value, right? And that we are rights, you know, to be ourselves and express ourselves. And yet doing that, recognizing that we're also united, we're also connected, and what one does affects the other. And we're almost like figuring this out at another level than we've ever done before, probably. You know, so we're gonna make, you know, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, the task is when you look at it from far away, you know, it's fucking unreachable, you know. It's so deep, it's so hard, you know, it's so crystallized that, I mean, getting through that is gonna be a hell, you know. We're gonna have to suffer a lot as a community and as a collective.
Yeah.
You know?
Many hands make light work. So the more people that do their inner work, that open their minds and start to find their voice in this, you know, the better. And I think that we can help create inroads for those people, you know, and we are bit by bit.
And I think there's an aspect that some people will talk a bit about more, because of the relationship of children and parents, and the relationship you have with your mothers and fathers, and so much of our schisms, our problems that we have growing up, are coming from the negligence or violence or any other bad things that happen in our life. Doesn't mean we're victims and we have to keep that, you know. You can still do the work and get through that, but it's highly unlikely for people who are generally are very ignorant. So you have a generation of parent. Let's talk, we're not pointing anyone here. You have a generation of parents who are conformist, they're statist, they don't know nothing about spirituality, they don't know nothing about natural law, they don't know nothing about morality, and then they're raising children. It's like children raising children. So the damage is incredible in if the parent, and I want to bring, I'm still talking about this because it's so important. Parents out there, you cannot give something you don't have. If you don't have love for yourself, for oneself, if you don't have respect for oneself, it doesn't work. You're gonna fake love, you're gonna fake everything. And yeah, and when your children and when your kids will wake up and being conscious about it, it's gonna be hell. Because children will blame themselves for the inadequacies of the parents. They, oh, daddy and mommy don't like me. They're gonna blame themselves for the lack of consciousness, the lack of morality, the lack of knowledge. I mean, nobody have to be stagnant all the time. It, why do I say that? Because it is the measure of a broken society. It's a broken collective. And I'm when I'm talking about collective, I'm talking about family unit. I'm not talking about a collectivity into society or subculture. It is so important to get back to the root of that. You know, do you love yourself? Do you respect yourself? Do you do the right thing? Do you nourish your body well? Do you treat yourself well? And this relationship is attached directly to the principle of correspondence. So you have the principle of correspondence, and then you have the principle of cause and effect. So you have broken, unspiritual, unintelligent people who are making kids, and they're making ignorant, broken people, and then it's getting bigger. It's like a domino effect. So the all is mind. Everything is connected together. The root of causality. When it's not a coincidence that natural law are placed this way. There is deepened understanding of these principles. It's not enough to just know it by heart. You have to understand them. And I'm not talking to you guys, but I'm talking to people listening who don't
understand
know
too, yeah. Integration.
And it makes me very angry because I know that it is the good thing to do, and I take it very seriously. When I'm doing the podcast, I'm talking the spectator. I expect them to be mature, human parent, responsible parent, and responsible adult.
Yeah.
So what people, all they feel, uh, hearing what I'm saying, it doesn't matter, but because it's still the truth.
Yeah.
It's not super complex. You don't have to go deep into psychology and psychiatry and things like that to understand basic things.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful thing, actually. So
I have some thoughts.
yeah,
Did you want to say something first, Derek?
I mean, just real quick, just to tail on, with the whole shadow work. I mean, as far as going back to your question, yeah, like here's the thing, like the whole awakening process, aside from that and getting over the hump of that, you're still going to be kind of like the black sheep of the family, going back to what you're talking about, the family unit and that kind of stuff. And so that takes a toll on the soul. And then like the social media miasma and stuff, and people talking shit out of their ass, unaccountable at all. Like, we're not talking in real life. Like you wouldn't get your ass beat, if you were talking that, smack to their face. You wouldn't be saying that out of your mouth. You might type it on the, because you're not going to get, reprimanded for it or whatever. But yeah, so there's all these things. And yeah, with people getting caught up in too much of the details of things and not just like understanding the priorities of, hey, like we're still enslaved. We want to get that freedom, like we can talk about all these stuff, and that's cool. I'm down to learn about ancient civilizations, Tartary and all that. But hey, in the present time, what's cracking with, you know, the divided states of America, and how so many countries follow suit to that, unfortunately, and yada yada. So I want to hang up some of the, or I will hang out some of the hang-ups to dry. At least I'll try. But yeah, Leslie, some thoughts. But
You know,
have you been thinking like Crip Rick, by the way?
You've been thinking. I agree, Fred, about the vital role of the family unit, and that I think the solution is in coming back and healing the family unit. It is broken, and the consequences of that are horrific. And I think that what's sad in this is that the very well-meaning parents are indoctrinated themselves, you know, and ignorant to the poison, you know, that is lurking in the what's considered good or normal parenting. You know, sending your kids to preschool at the youngest age they can so they can get a head start, pushing their kids to, you know, read and write in kindergarten, and following, you know, these kind of Prussian-based school models, and not really even being considerate to the social and emotional development, not valuing the parents and their own values, really taking away the parents, you know, what seems like a more natural, authoritative role with your children. You know, if anyone has a claim on that, I think it's a parent with a young child. And yet, once you sort of, it's been so culturally normed to send your kids away from you at a very young age. And I used to think that that was part of the, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. But I've since started to see that it's the way that our kids are taken away from us for indoctrination, you know, to indoctrinate them and perpetuate. And so really this ignorance of the average parent is, it's a scary thing. And I do think it is a good place for us to reach out and offer education and support, you know, to try to change the worldview a bit. I think the economic situation is a part of it too, because it's almost impossible for one parent to stay at home and be with their children with a one working parent, you know, with the costs of rents and mortgages and the pressures. And a lot of the social movements are also really de-emphasizing the family and homemaking, right? And so there's so many agendas that are creating this conflict and division that it's almost, it's very contradictory or contraindicated to what children really need. Like, it's like the children are being forgotten almost, their real needs, in my view.
This and I did a short from that, and it's one of my earlier French work, and I've been very bold with people about the state of the family unit, and the relationship between what how do we consider love. And I told them, you Quebec, here in Quebec, people don't like children. Why do I say that? Because they're sending them straight to the kill house. They don't take responsibility for their children, for comfort, for money, for big cars, big house, my reputation, what people will think of me. And the children are the most abused people on earth, because they're vulnerable, they're half conscious. They don't realize that. I don't. I'm telling my children, it's not all people they're good. Some people will try to hurt you, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere. You have all these retarded people roaming around and telling people that right and wrong doesn't exist, and that reality doesn't exist, and that it doesn't matter. We are making the laws. We are making morality. And how did it turn?
I don't even think people talk about morality much. I don't think it's a word that they use.
People are getting like they have allergy from truth. Actually, some people will change color. Some people will have the fluoride stare.
I think it's like a dirty word, and I've been thinking about that. I think that people have, because there's been such a punishment mentality, and kids feel like they do something and it's told it's wrong, or that they're doing something wrong, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm being punished, right? And so it's like this extreme thing. If you talk about morality, that must mean that any little thing needs to be punished or something, but it's not really, like, I don't know.
It's behaviorism, actually.
Do the right thing. No, go Fred. Sorry.
Behaviorism. Look, the work of Brendan Spencer about behaviorism. It's gold for the people who are into mind control, like I am. Looking into the dark pit of the human psyche. There's some dark shit corners there. It's crazy. I mean, what? At this point, we can talk about the wall of the prison all night and talking about what's wrong, but let's talk about.
You got some questions for us, brother. What's good, man? What's good?
So what would be the first thing that people should do for in the sense of uniting? What should be the first thing that we should do as a community, or things like that? What should be the first things that we should? I'm not talking about shadow work. We talked already about shadow work, but let's talk about in the real world. What can we do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I still want to repeat. I think the first thing is everyone needs to look at themselves and be very honest and clear, do an inventory, and keep continuing. The shadow work never ends. It's just continuing the layers are just kind of going deeper. You're sloughing off those layers and going deeper. And from there, I think when you develop a clear knowing of yourself, or even before you get all the way there, you have to take some kind of action. Like I think that you don't have to wait till you're perfect, right? But it's like reaching out in a direction that feels resonant with who you are, that feels sincere, and that you have some passion. And over time, once you start to put that out, you start to find out more who you are and where you stand, and who you can then maybe connect with or partner with. You get clear on your voice and your message, and you put it out there, and then other people hear it, and it has a synergy. I don't know if that's kind of what you're asking, but
yeah, well, that's good. I like that for sure. I'll respond and compliment what you're saying, because that's always on mind. Though these are just first principles, and we always have to check in with self. We have nothing to control other than ourselves, really, in this life. And what it comes down to is, how are we aligned to natural law? I think that's like the big moral compass people really need to check themselves on a daily fucking basis. myself included, I do this every fucking day, and going over alchemical processes and, you know, reviewing whatever falsehoods I might be, you know, sucked into or aligned with or whatever, and get myself out of that stuff. And I totally lost my train of thought, but yeah, like, Les, did you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I think what came to my mind as you're talking is, you know, how we're all connected through natural law, to keep checking oneself, right? And I think part of that is checking the judgment that we feel towards another, right? And so that's always going to come up, that we have a strong emotion, a sense of judgment. And I think that in the larger goal of unity, of uniting, we have to have an openness, right, to each other's imperfections and our own, right, and continue to learn how to dialogue and communicate, and then keep on keeping on, you know, like rather than, you know, like getting some aspects of our community are getting caught up in, like, whether it's like veganism or not, or flat earth or round earth, you know, and there's like these caught places where it's pretty pointless in this conflict, and like fighting each other or disrespecting each other, or, you know, when over here is really where we all need to be focused, and that's where we can all agree. So I think it's like really checking ourselves when because we're going to all get triggered or have a very special sensitivity to some aspect of this work, whether it's the human trafficking or the killing of animals or the chemtrails or the whatever. We're all going to have our thing, and it's okay to be like passionate and share your thoughts, but at the point that we maintain a open mind and respect to each other's differences, right? And then remind ourselves what's the real target here, and how can we, you know, refocus our energy in a more unified way, and hopefully we can start to develop more strategy together.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go on, man. Go on.
All right. Thanks, man. Because going back what you're saying, yes, some of these things should enrage us, you know, have that righteous indignation. But how are we going to be channeling that, you know, energy? Are we transmuting it properly? Are we projecting it wrongly to even our fellow comrades, because, you know, they're not on every single, you know, word per word that we are so gung-ho about, whatever. As long as, I don't know, we can fall back on certain, you know, eternal principles, a la natural law, cosmic law, and yes, karmic law, and people re-examining their whole entire life, like how light is your heart, especially in regards to the feather of Mayat and all that stuff. You know, like if you were to die tomorrow, like how are you going to be chilling with Anubis, you know, at the gates? You know, are you going to get devoured by Amet or whatever? Like, I don't know, but yeah, Fred, you were going to say something?
I'm usually very rooted into what the foundation, and I'm getting back to the foundation once again. Sure, there's the shadow work, and there's the principle of correspondence, and all these things, but I think we can use the principle of rhythm to explain this. And what we have, at my humble opinion, what we have to do is slow the balance movement, because there's a counter swing. So this is what we have to do. We have to get back into the neutral zone.
I see what you're saying, like slow down the extremes and the momentum to the extremes. And
if it swings more or less, then the backlash will be less.
yes,
Actually.
that's a good point. I think
So
that's a lot of what we're trying to do on Dissolving the Divide. I hope, the spirit of that, and also in how we communicate about things, because we're not promoting like, headbutting and conflict, but we're really seeking that convergence of both polarities in a way that is, like you said, towards the neutral, towards the equanimous place. Although we are making clear lines of right and wrong through the principles of natural law, and speaking the truth about the indoctrination of the world and the wrongdoings, right? So
there's something I realize with the years, after all these years, like I'm actually absolutely doing the shadow work and the great work, and I realized that we have to go over all these entertainments, ideologies, and things like that that are slowing us down. There's many things that we can avoid. Like, I like to talk about politics, but people don't like to talk politics with me, And I'm not saying, oh, who's more famous than the other and who's have the better idea. No, I like talking about government because government is shit, and it gives me a lot of stuff to talk about, because it's everywhere. So I think the one thing that we should do as a community is to expose it, and afterward it's getting through it, and then afterward we can move on.
Yeah, I feel you.
There's a lot. I made mistakes in my life, and I made mistakes in this community. I come from the two sides. I know. I've been many years. It's been a few years now that I'm here. I'm meeting all these people. They're going in and out. There's people who are vanishing, completely, and there's many stories, behind the spiritual and the freedom movement as a whole. But is it a reason to be stagnant? Is it a reason to be disingenuous or dishonest about the nature of reality and the consequence, and what is the actual condition of the movement? It's not about being perfect ever. It's not about being perfect. It's about freedom and natural law. So where I'm talking about, like, here, the great work, everybody works on the same page. We put aside these chicanery, this worthless, inane garbage that keeps us from moving forward as a unit, working on the same page. Are we ready to go in this at the next stage? And being very, very vocal and going into the world and doing the world in the outside world and outside of the internet. Some people do, some people do, but it's really hard to get this information out. Very hard.
Yeah, and I've taken the hard approach, the soft approach, the indirect approach, and like so many things. Like, and hey, we cannot, generalize certain approaches. It almost has to be like on an individual basis sometimes. Like, yeah, we can all put out our works on videos and have something more general for the public, of course, and that has a lot of great effects. But at the same time, like, I'm trying to like translate that, and I feel you. I've had so many cathartic moments, like on camera, even especially since the dawning of the Rona, right? But I'm thinking to myself, after looking at that, like, damn, how are my parents going to see that, or my sister, like the folks that I really care about, in like trying to make them uh, turn their eyes towards something that they could, look at and process and understand and be like, oh shit, man, like, and it's not about like, oh, like I want them to think that I'm right. It's just I want them to, understand certain things, that the the falsities from the actual truth of the matter of certain things. And so yeah, going back real quick with our approach, yeah, dissolving the divide, we made the choice to have a more softer approach, yet we listen to and can recommend more than a handful of folks that take it more hardcore. So if y'all want to take it there, let us know, because like
Yeah.
yeah, but anyways, yeah, right, Fred. Keeping it hardcore, yo.
And I want to say publicly that, and I repeat it a lot. I'm an influencer, and I'm not fucking messing around. I take it very seriously. Why? Because I know that it's that is the solution to slavery in the mind and physically. So it doesn't matter what people think, if they're vegan or not, you know. I've been very vocal about this shit, but I'm not vegan. I'm vegetarian. I still have this passion inside of me. I've been doing some animal advocacy. I did it. I know what I'm talking about, and I seen these group and collective of people work their ass off to make the rights of the animal shine for what they really are, our brothers and sisters. So there's plenty of things that it makes me and us as a human. And Derek, by the way, you gotta love some of the them rants you did on uh, uh, one great work, Wire. I was oh I like these rants. I like it when you're getting passionate about it. I like it for myself. I like this drive, and I think all truth must be heard. You know, Everybody must hear it. Even if it's fucking hurting, you get sad, you get angry, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And this is what I pretend to do on the French side. You know, I really, really want to hammer these basic things, right and wrong, good and evil, what is violence, what is force, what is rights, what is the two pillars, the two sacred pillars. They're fundamental, important things that people must know. So we have to pound this shit out, so people can understand it. Not like just, oh, I don't have nothing to do. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna watch the LIBERcast and forget all about it.
Yeah.
This is not what I'm looking forward. I'm looking for people who will get involved. And
Yeah.
this is one of the things we have is reaching out.
I think one of the challenges when we're sharing this like foundational information is to help put it into a context that people can make sense of in their own lives, to understand how the principles and concepts would impact their daily decisions as a human. And I think that sometimes people have a harder time applying the concepts or getting to the point of really understanding the implications of that. I think that awareness comes gradually, or it hits you all at once and kind of blows your mind, and it's scary. Yeah.
But it's also beautiful. I mean, like being that in that beautiful state of mind, hermetically sealed, if you will, and understanding correspondence as above, so below. Don't you know? The universe is inside, as within, as without a
Yeah.
doubt. And getting into the true rhythm of your body, your whole temporal aura of your whole beingness. Like it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. And can we not, just embody this, understand these, beyond ancient eternal principles, and shine that through in this reality field for others to be inspired by as well through whatever actions we have, whether it be on camera or in real life. I was saying this in a live stream or whatever, like it's like, hey, like I'm myself, whether on camera or in real life. Like Leslie, you probably know this. You met me in person, you know. So what it do, yeah? Like,
Yeah. Bring your rhymes everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing, and I think it's when you can imagine, when you can start to see the potential of what a world and life could be like through harmony, of harmonizing with natural law. It is motivating. It keeps the hope alive, and that it is a shift of consciousness that really has to happen first, that then can really lead to this domino effect of actions that could change, a lot of things. And it doesn't have to be so terrifying um, if we work together, in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. And the word would be reconciliation. And reconciliation is what is shadow work in the mental plane. After you have reconciliation with the nature and the nature of things and the nature of society and the relationship we have with other, because there's no separation there based on natural law.
Yeah.
So I mean, sure, some people will not have the patience and having the time to listen all of Mark Passio's presentation, but one that I would like to suggest is Natural Law Seminar. It's pretty long, but you can listen into bite-sized thing, and it's an incredible presentation, and everything that is in this presentation is incredibly important to understand. I'm not telling to people that you have to believe in it. I want you to know it,
Mhm. Yeah.
because it's gonna set us free as humans. and
and it ain't
and
no belief system, right? It ain't no religion. It's just the science of life. It is the isness, right?
science, actually, natural law are science. So there's no separation between the science that we know of the 3D world and the physical world and the world of the meta. It's just because the information is not. I'm not saying that it's not available, but people will not get easily informed about the existence of this knowledge. There's going to be a lot of layers of lies and half truth and cults and new agers and things like that, and all these religions that's going to avoid the uh, people will not see it. They're going to see it with their eyes, but they're not going to understand them. They're not going to be able to interpret what they're seeing, and it's basic things, you know. And this is where we have to go. Is we don't have to love everyone. We don't have to be super friendly and being all family. We just have to respect ourselves as human beings and respecting our brothers and sisters in their decision and their belief, if these beliefs exist in this person.
Yeah.
I have a Christian friend. He's a super cool guy, generous with his time. He gave a lot. And I know a lot of them that are not Christian, they're not occultists, they're not in any community, and they're giving their all to make this world beautiful and warm and giving food to people, and they're doing it for free. They don't know about natural law, they don't know about the thing, but they're still doing the right thing. So there's a lot of people who are judging on their appearance or the way they talk or what they do, but essentially it's you judge someone but in what they're doing, you know so I have the chance, and I'm blessed with abundance in my life, and I like to give. I liked it a lot. This is a good way to because when you're giving to yourself. It's a very selfish thing. Okay, this relation we have with other, it's a very selfish thing. Shadow work is a selfish thing. It's the individual, and you have to do your own work and knowing the individual, and after, you know everything can happen. And when you shift from scarcity to abundance, it changed everything. And it's only a worldview, it's only a perception. And as we know, you know it's a matter of will and care. Do you care enough to make your life better? Do you care about other people? What do you care about? Where do you put your time? Are you helping people? Are you creating something? Or at least you're not destroying something, you're creating something. you know Derek is in music, he's mixing. Leslie is making presentation and have his own stuff. I have my own stuff, and this is how we're doing it. I'm working outside. I'm very privileged to have this job into a community center where we're taking stuff from people. They're giving stuff, and we're reselling it to finance food for people who are in the need. So this is a place where there's a lot of help, support and cooperation. So I'm very blessed to be there and helping and giving my best to make the life of other better. You know, Giving, sure, you have to give you first, like love, respect, and things like that. But giving, it's free, and just talking with someone, just approaching them. And I'm trying to get people conscious when I'm talking with them. I hate small talks. I fucking hate that. I cannot fucking tolerate it. I'm not talking with I like to confront people and putting and making them go inside and introspect. This is what I love to do when I'm talking to people, whatever their age, sex, or color, or whatever. It doesn't matter. This is this and doing the work on the internet, it's a great thing. You can reach a lot of people. There's a lot of people that you cannot reach when you're going in local, in places. You're not gonna be able to talk to everyone, but it's getting implicated. Do something. It's the first thing that would suggest. It's just fucking do something. you know and if you have resources on many ways, you have time, you have force that you can share, help people with things, or you have money and someone is lacking food, then you can do a little help, you can push a little bit. And it's doing a lot of great things. I know a lot of people who are doing it for free, so they're working their ass off, and bringing good. So an hour and 10 minutes in, and it's going very fast. um I want to bring people to what can you do, and what is the justification. And I told that to French people. I take a piece of paper and write what you can do and what you cannot do, and get back to it 2 days after, and you're gonna see all the justification that you're gonna make for not doing something.
Yeah.
Nobody have to show their faces and do podcasts and radio shows and things like that. It's not what I'm saying. It's get you educate yourself, and then you get involved into the world. It's simple as that. If everybody does something, then it's going to be a big thing. And for the people who are interested in what we were talking about, natural law and all these things, I suggest you, there's 3 people here who can help you. We're all working on the same page here. We're here for the great work. We're here for this effort, this mutual effort of bringing these incredible knowledge out into the world. So if you want to get involved, you have to do it fucking now. This is when you have to do it. It's now. It's not yesterday. It's not gonna be tomorrow. Do it now. And take this fucking piece of paper and just write it. What can I do? What I cannot do?
Yeah, real quick, if you don't
Yeah.
mind. People even on this level, we can get sometimes too, caught up in our own works in this and that. And I've been a victim of this as well. Like just being so much of a hermit. Like I'm trapped in my studio. I've been up in here since like November, like doing nothing but this, not even having a real job. And thinking to myself, like, geez, Derek, why don't you go out and, volunteer for, the local farm and that kind of stuff? Like we can all do these little things, even just like one day out of the week. Little things like that can make a big difference. And yeah, it might not be the best step towards freedom, or whatever, the most, prolific step towards it, whatever. But, it all boils down to like being there, being present, supporting local communities, and you never know what kind of interactions might take place during that session, or whatever, however many hours you want to pass by and say, hey, let me lend a hand and whatever, and all these things. And you can drop those little natty law seeds of thought, for them to consider and chew on later on, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what might germinate, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about wanting to increase that local action, and to balance that with the online stuff. And I do think that's a good idea. I think the bottom line is the dialogue among people, with people. And from my standpoint, coming from the perspective of a therapist and counselor, what I recognized is that, the most effective way to, influence change or allow a safe, place for someone to be willing to change is really having an attitude or a demeanor that is safe, and safe to that other person, because we all are so well defended. We have our internal compartments from our own traumas, and those parts that will flare, that will defend and, attack back. And so the way through, right, is through really with love, with compassion, and coming from a state of curiosity. It's like these people there are many people who are really well-intended, who are good, who will feed the homeless and, and help the poor. And yet they may be misled in certain political dialectics or polarities, or very much a statist. And so we can recognize where we are still brothers and sisters, and we are united at the heart level, the intention of heart, and starting from that place with a curiosity, a mutual, a sense of wanting to understand that person and who they are and where they've been and how they got there and what they really wish for, what they intend, and we can find where to connect, and through compassionate place, and being yet also clear about who we are and what we have on earth, so to speak, you know, as we get closer to what is true, you know, we can share, we can be courageous, right? We need that quality of courage to be willing to say something that's not the popular thing, you know, to be willing to question, to put ourselves out there, to be creative. And this is a mindset that we need to cultivate in ourselves in order to be effective, in order to not create more divides. So I think that's my thought on that.
Yeah. You mind if I read this comment real quick? Or Fred, you sound like
Sure.
you want to say something.
Which
I
one?
just like what decentralizing. I don't see the rest of it,
Yeah.
but I know this brother was cracking, yo.
Let me put it.
You can study spirituality and occult your whole life and still not know everything, but the most relevant knowledge is simple. Yes, it is the difference between right and wrong. And what I was gonna say is, yeah, like, and Leslie, you said, like, you know, people can be status, this and that, but you know, I think ultimately the majority of people want to do the right thing. Yet, you know, they've been led down so many different garden paths, you know, and especially away from the true core essence and that hardcore intelligence. Word up to Hardcore Productions, Rodney Goodwin. But and word up to Chris Nelson. he puts out so many phenomenal infographics and all this stuff. And I don't think he did a presentation like a verbal one, but he has a bunch of slides regarding, you know, like dark care. And this is kind of what this alludes to, of, you know, being led down the wrong path and, you know, through the media manipulation and the Bernaysian propaganda or whatever the hell, you know, we're programmed to like think this is right, yet it's not. And so people are operating on things that they think are right. And yet, you know, they're those, you know, principles, you know, man-made fabricated shit, it's paltered with certain truths, right? Like there might be certain, you know, little tidbits of things that are good within, you know, propagated messages that are just, you know, meant to brainwash, you know, people in a sense. But, you know, like, you know, with the whole since the dawning of the Rona, yeah, wearing a mask is good. It means you're responsible, mature, you know, respect the person, all this stuff. Same in France. They were, you know, spouting that out, you know, all the time. So people thought, oh, that's the moral thing to do without questioning or going back to other and like, you know what I mean? So, you know, there's the conditioning of the nanny state that is quite unfortunate. And yeah, it touches on a lot what you spoke about before, Fred. So,
The belief in authority
Yeah.
ultimately is
false
this
authority.
poison. Yes.
It's manufacturing consent.
Yeah. Coercion too.
Oh yes.
Coercion.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I keep on repeating it. You know, almost every French podcast that I do, I'm repeating it. You know, government is slavery.
Mon
You
ami,
know,
mais oui.
yeah, and the government is the definition of violence. You know, everything that comes out from the government is violence, and that the one of the worst that they're doing, and they're all bad. They're all very bad, but lying about consent and rights, it's a very bad thing. You know, they're making people believe that their value is less than it really is, and it's a very terrible thing, and it's very destructive. And we were talking about this earlier, but in the parental aspect, you know, government and parents are substitute of one another. And they're most people, because they didn't have parents who raised them well, or they were neglected or abandoned or something like that, they're gonna go to a substitute parent. Some it's gonna be religion, some's gonna be government, but it's a very hard things to uh, uh, I can use the word correct because people are very, very naive. And even us, we're not impervious to mind control. We can still get, false flagged or censored or things like that. So there, I think the yeah, sure, there's the individual that you must do your work. If you want to change something, you must do your work. But it is a ongoing work. We're not going to achieve it tomorrow, and we have to work hard. What was your parent was saying to you when you wanted $10? You have to work for it. You have to achieve it. You have to get it. You have to work for it. It's simple. It's simple in every aspect of your life and every aspect of society today. So knowing that what tyranny is will make you realize you will know what freedom is if you know what tyranny is, because it's the apophatic approach to freedom. And 1 hour and 22 minutes in, and I don't want it to go too much further. The attention of people is very short, so
Yeah.
I tend to
You had any other
1 hour and
questions for
30
us
minutes.
before it's too late, or
What?
did you exhaust all your questions you had for us?
No,
Oh,
I can do like 2 more hours, but I'm tired. We had a big
You had a
day.
baby today.
yeah, yo,
You
hey,
got to go
everyone
snuggle with that
listening,
Yeah,
baby and check on your wife.
thanks for
yeah.
listening, by the way, y'all, and yeah,
We'll have to do a continuation of this conversation and maybe
Yeah.
bring some slides. I have some I can put out.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll plan another time too.
So there's so many things to cover, but we don't have the time to do it. Not tonight. And I would like to thank everyone who were there and the people who commented. Decentralizing, by the way, he's making video on YouTube. Go see his work. Short videos, right to the point. I like it this way. For the people who have low attention span, by the way, I have to be stimulated intellectually every day. I'm getting bored. I'm getting bored of my mind if I don't learn anything. I have my children to teach me things all the time. So this is a beautiful thing to do at the same time.
Thank you,
So
Fred,
if
for
you have
inviting us.
no problem, if you have something that you want to mention before we go, where we can get your work, because I think there's some people arrive after the beginning. So if you want to promote your stuff, then here we go.
Well, you can find my work. I'm Leslie Powers. My website is alivethrive.life. Pretty much everything is on the One Great Work network. I would really recommend people go on the network and get stuff there. It's very easy to access. There's also YouTube. I've had, one of my first videos, Corruption of Care, removed from YouTube, so you can't find that there. And then Odyssey is another location. We have our Dissolving the Divide channel as well. And there's also girls club stuff going on. It's like a cool collaboration with a few ladies, Sarah Cross. And
I had Sarah yesterday, by the way.
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little different approach, and kind of, I like that we're coming from a place, where of women, and our perspectives on things, very conversational. It's fun. So.
Direct.
Hell yeah.
What's
Yo, much respect to Sahel. Represent.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate the comments, everyone that chimed in and all that. Yeah, my work, Awaken Your Mind. Fred, you posted, my link enough. That's really cool. Dissolving the Divide. I really want to hype that up the most. That we're trying to get somewhere near a respectable number where we can, I don't know, like invite some more, like even like mainstream guests. Because what I want to do eventually is, get some of these folks that have, like, I wouldn't say 1 million followers, but some of these influencers, whatever, where we can actually have a conversation and of people that have tons of followers, and you see those videos, and it's all over the map with people talking out of their ass or ear or far or near, and the hell is going on over here? But anyways, I'm gonna drift off into space, and you're drifting off into a lovely place, Fred. And yeah, much love. Thank you so much for having us on. And yeah, much respects to your love of your life, giving birth to a new wonderful being. And
Oh yes.
all the best with
Yeah.
chez toi, mon ami.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cherish the time. Yeah,
Merci, Rick.
congratulations, Fred, and thanks
Um,
again. This was fun.
No, the pleasure was for me, really, and I enjoyed these conversations. I would like to have more of that,
Yeah.
but time is going so fast. You have our
Yeah.
responsibilities,
Right.
and if you don't have one, just do something. Get something. You don't have to like go and volunteer. You can do art. You can do uh, 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 paint. You can do video
Music.
editing. There's a lot of things that can be done in the real world and in on the internet. So get involved. And for the people, go on the One Great Work Network. You're gonna explode. Oh, that's some. I like this. I like this little thing there on the bottom. It
Yeah.
keeps on turning. OneGreatWorkNetwork.com for
Yeah.
more discovery about what we talked about earlier and more, even more, hundreds of hours and awesome presentation, content creators. So go there. Everybody, have a good night and see you soon. I don't know if it's going to be in French or in English. We'll see. We'll see. For the people who are bilingual, this is your place too. So
Ah,
take care, people. Bye.
bye.